I call to order this May 11th, 2026 Board of Education meeting for Thornapple Kellogg Schools. This is a regular scheduled meeting. We are at the ECC in the boardroom. Can we have a call of the board, please?
Price?
Here.
Stanton?
Here.
Whitma?
Here.
Hilton?
Here.
Winger?
Here.
Hess here, and Brock.
Here. Thank you, board. Pledge of allegiance. The flag is in the back. Please be mindful of your caps. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
I motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I support.
Was that by Ms. Hilton?
Kier, yeah.
Yep, thank you. We got a motion by Mr. Price and support by Ms. Hilton. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Thank you, board. All right, next item on our agenda is student recognition. Mr. Myers, I believe you are here to help present some amazing things our students have been doing. Mr. Provost, going to turn on the mic for you. Thank you, sir.
Not a fan of the microphones. I'm used to walking around my classroom just yelling. My name is Scott Myers. I've been at TK for 22 years, TK grad as well in 1995. I teach the intro to mechanical drafting, engineering, architecture, and advanced 3D CAD classes. I have 3 wonderful students with me here this year that I really want to highlight. So I have Thomas Pohl, senior, just came from the baseball game, and he's heading back there after this. He's a prime example of why didn't I have you before your senior year. So he's in my intro class right now. He did a great project. The projects that they worked on are for what's called the MITES competition, and it's a long acronym, but it's Michigan Industrial Technology Education Society. And it's architecture, it's engineering, it's metals, it's wood shop, it's electrical, it's welding, it's all sorts of stuff. And Thomas was in the mechanical drawing category. He did a, not essentially reverse engineer, but he recreated a housing adapter for a gearbox for the aerospace industry. His blueprint is up there. He took 9th place at state. Top 10s are fantastic at state. I'm really proud of him. Ben Postma as well. And Ben, I'm sorry, Grand Valley? Yep. Going to Grand Valley for engineering? Yep. So Ben has been with me for, is it 4 years or 3? 3 years. So he's in my advanced CAD class. He took 2nd place at state in his category. There's a bunch of different categories inside mechanical drawing. Ben created an entire package, and if you can imagine this, he reverse engineered, and reverse engineering is when you have the physical part in your hand and you are measuring it with a micrometer and recreating the exact part on the 3D CAD program. He had a stinky, nasty gas weed whacker in my room the entire year that he tore apart completely, and his package is back there, and I would love for you at some point tonight to go through. You can see all the blueprints and everything. The rendering is on the front, and there's also a picture of those parts that he recreated. So super proud of him. The only thing that beat him at state was a jet engine. So really proud of him. And then Amelia Sanborn is 4th year with me. She is going to Detroit Mercy for architecture design. Her scale model house, which is in that corner there, she's been working on that design for a long time. And she was in the scale model category, so she not only won that category, but she went on then to win the divisional award. I won't bore you with all that, but then she won the divisional award, and then she won the grand award at the architecture, in the architecture area. And I'm just spitballing a number here. I think there were upwards of 400 projects at the competition.
Gosh.
And so she got the grand award, and super proud of her for all the hard work. And yeah, I mean, I just love these kids to death, and thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Myers. Thank you, students. Students, I'm going to ask you to do something real quick. As part of the student recognition, we're going to have you come around this way and shake the board members and the administration hands up here to say, job well done. Thank you. Come right here. How you doing?
Okay, all right.
Oh, and what I forgot to say is that grand award is the first ever for Thornapple Kellogg.
So I asked them to grab their projects and come up here and just showcase it because it is really cool, the projects
Yeah.
that these kids have created. So students just kind of grab them and come on up here and show it to the board and then show it to the audience. If you're gonna ruin it or drop it, then don't do it. I mean, just absolutely incredible.
So, I'll talk a little bit about this house, just what went into it.
Yes,
What Amelia
please.
did was, all the walls are laser cut plywood, and then the roof and the patio and the driveway are all clear acrylic that was laser cut and etched, by her. And then, essentially the only thing she didn't do is the trees. This, this is all plywood, she took a Dremel tool in the wood shop and just carved the heck out of this thing for like an hour, and then hand painted it. The roof comes off, and
Oh, that's cool.
the inside is all 3D prints of her entire kitchen, dining room, living room, and she didn't just download these files, she created them 3D on my program to the exact scale that she needed. We resin 3D printed them, and then she hand painted them, and that includes the windows and the doors and everything. So if you look in there, there's the tiniest little sink faucet.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So,
Is this of your house?
No, I made it in his second year class.
Okay, gotcha.
so the blueprints for it are back there. They're real small because we don't print them big for the competition, but the blueprints are back there as well, so.
That's fantastic.
Thank you for sharing your design. She even
No,
double
no.
painted the windows. Yeah.
No, I think if we put it on the back table, people can see it. That's great, thank you.
That is
All right, can you
This
show
is
us
how
yours?
it's
All right,
Look at that ribbon, nice.
and this is from remind us again?
This is just so someone did this a previous year, and then I recreated it, and then had to fix a couple things, so.
Sure, yeah.
Most of it's.
That's
pretty-
fantastic.
What
Okay.
program are you guys using? I was using Inventor.
Something that's cool about this project, in the year 2000, when I was in college, I was working at an engineering company in Caledonia. Actually, the Schaefers, who are a family here, their grandfather was the owner and president of what was called Gateway Engineering, and it was a aerospace industry. So he designed gearboxes for the aerospace industry: Boeing, Hamilton, Sundstrand, the Navy, GM. So that is actually a file that I created back in 2000 for the General Motors gearbox at that time. So that is an actual part that was created back in 2004 gearbox, and that's the kind of stuff that I held on to be able to, have these kids get involved in it a little bit.
Great.
Yeah, yes.
Did you use this weed whacker outside? Were you out there on the
No.
grounds crew?
So,
Okay.
it was an old weed whacker, and
Okay.
good thing it was, because it definitely doesn't work. But, yeah, it's, took around 80 to 100 hours,
Okay.
so working on it since.
Wait, we got multiple
Yeah.
pages here. Here, I'll
Yeah, if you
hold
want.
outside for you.
Yeah, if you,
He's got every spring,
Like that?
every screw.
Oh my goodness, sorry, Brenda.
You're good.
so, yeah,
Piece by piece.
there's the saying, don't bite off more than you can chew. And, I probably bit off the most I could possibly chew.
I don't know if everyone can see, these are little measurements all
Yeah.
throughout here, just on what, one piece?
Yeah, that's one part. You should get the exploded view. That's the bad one.
Kinda nervous, but.
So that's the
Oh
whole
my
thing
goodness.
blown up. So, pretty cool.
Looks like, are you gonna build like an owner's manual someday? This summer?
I don't know, I could.
That looks pretty
I know
awesome.
this thing
It's
inside.
almost identical to a actual
Yes,
manual.
manual for the
Yeah,
weed whacker.
very
Yeah.
nice.
That's fantastic, congratulations,
Yeah,
thank
thank
you guys for
Congratulations.
being here. Thank you, students. Thank you again, Mr. Myers, for presenting that to us. That is fantastic. All right, our next item on the agenda, the superintendent's report. Mr. Pouch?
Thank you, President Brock, and to the students in Mr. Myers' class. Wow, absolutely incredible. And I would personally invite any board member or any audience or community member that wants to come in. I'll personally give you a tour of that class, because although those are three of the projects that receive recognition at the state tournament, all of our kids are doing amazing things in there, and it will make your jaw drop. at some of the projects and activities and skills that they're learning as we're producing kids to be college and career ready. So again, kudos. I invite you in. I would love to give anybody a tour of the good things that are happening in that class. I have 6 items this evening, all fairly short, but first is thank you to Corewell Health for hosting an incredible gala that raised over $100,000 in support of behavioral health service clinics that we have here for Thornapple Kellogg's and Hastings High Schools. So a special thank you to our very own assistant principal at the high school, Jeff Dock, who I did not get to see it. I saw some video clips, but gave just a fantastic presentation on the impact that this program is having on our kids at the high school. So thank you, Mr. Dock, for that, and thank you to Corewell Health for supporting this program. That is a lot of money that we will embrace and we're very grateful for, and we'll give grace to make sure we can continue to support all kids. Second, our Principles of Tech class received a $25,000 grant from Explore the Trades lab built by Ferguson. So Mr. Welker is here, and these funds will be used to purchase new equipment, materials, and tools used specifically for plumbing. Thornapple Kellogg High School is one of 18 schools nationwide to receive this 2026 Skills Lab grant. So a huge kudos to the time that went on behind the scenes to put this in. And plumbing is a lifelong skill that every single one of us could get better at every single day to fix those pipes and faucets and whatnot at our home. So thank you. Anything you want to say on behalf of that program, what you're looking forward to doing?
No, we're excited about it.
Yeah.
A little overwhelmed. It's a big chunk of change, but yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Great program.
I'm sure you'll spend it very quickly and wisely.
It's a lot of money to spend.
Thanks for the
fantastic.
added
Thank you.
opportunities for the kids.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Another great opportunity to embed hands-on learning, real-world skills into our curriculum here and enhance a program that we already have. I believe I heard a quote or saw a quote where it'll just really take the program to the next level, equipment and material-wise. Third, I would encourage everybody, there are several band and choir concerts here on our campus this week, taking place over the course of the next 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I believe starting at 7 o'clock, but double check the district calendar. And another great opportunity for us to showcase the arts and the work that our students have been doing in choir and the various bands and performances to put on a spring concert for our community. So I invite you to that as well, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Check the calendar for exact times. The time has come. This Friday marks the last day for our seniors at Thornapple Kellogg High School. So their 13-ish year journey at Thornapple Kellogg Schools will come to an end. We encourage all students, particularly our seniors, to stay focused these last couple days, to finish strong. Maybe there's a grade out there you still have to check the box on. Get that done. And enjoy this final last week of high school. And most importantly, we invite everybody and we look forward to celebrating their success on Thursday, which is next Thursday, May 21st. We lose one class, and we're excited to welcome another generation in class to Thornapple Kellogg Schools. McFall Elementary's Kindergarten Signing Day, where we've invited in all of our incoming kindergartners, will take place on Wednesday, May 13th at 5 p.m. There's no better place to go to see the excitement of learning than some of our youngest learners as they're gearing up for kindergarten. So we encourage board members or community members, again, to stop by and see the great things that our staff and students are participating in. And last, we had a board member attend this event. Last week at Thornapple Kellogg High School, we held, thanks to Mr. Hammer, the annual Athletic Spring Signing Day, which I was also able to attend. And congratulations to our student athletes on their next journey. There were several student athletes. I don't have the exact number, but it was very rewarding to see the smiles and the joy and ultimately the celebration between student and their families of all the hard work that they've put in for however many years they've participated in that sport, and they're looking forward to continuing on their academic and athletic career. So congratulations to those individuals. Many of them, if not all of them, have been here at some point in time for some type of state recognition, whether it was this year or in previous years. So subsequent to any questions, that does conclude my superintendent's report.
Any scope on the number of applicants for what you applied for the 18?
Oh, yes, I could get that number for you.
Okay.
I don't remember off the top of my head. They said it was the largest amount they had applied.
That's cool.
It's fantastic. All right. Thank you, Mr. Pouch. Thank you for those updates and those invites to those very special items coming up on our calendar. Our next item under communications is public input. I will read a brief statement, and then anyone who would like to speak could speak. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Members of the public may address the Board of Education during public comment for up to 3 minutes. Speakers will be recognized by the presiding officer and are asked to state their name, address, and group affiliation if applicable. As a reminder, all comments shall be directed to the board and not to staff or other participants. No participant may speak more than once. Participants may not behave in a manner that is disruptive to the orderly conduct of the meeting. The Board of Education does not respond to public comment. The superintendent will follow up with speakers when appropriate. At this time, we'll begin public comment. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Hi, Mr. Lansma. Is that microphone green right there for you?
Yes, it is.
Perfect. Thank you,
All
sir.
right, picking me up, okay?
Yep.
All right, yeah, good evening, board. Congratulations to our students and the teachers. Man, that's awesome, awesome to watch. My name is David Lansma. I want to thank Superintendent Pouch, Deputy Superintendent Provost, and the school members, or school board members, for your commitment to the management and oversight of our school district. What goes on here is critical and foundational to the development of our future families and leaders. Thank you so much. My wife and I have lived in the Yankee Springs area for over 40 years, and our children attended TK from K through 12 and graduated back in 97, 99. It's good to see the district just chugging along. We are also precinct delegates from Yankee Springs and remain very active in following our TK school system, as well as our local township, county, state, and federal government. We carefully follow the process and outcomes of our various governing entities, and we see firsthand the impact of what begins right here in our local school district. I would like to speak in support of the off-premises religious teaching program known as LifeWise. LifeWise provides a student with the countless benefits of teaching foundational truths from God's Word. Teaching from God's Word develops understanding and devotion to the author of that word, God himself. Students are taught the attributes of Christ, such as respect, integrity, patience, kindness, perseverance, and many more, which are all the underpinnings of sound reasoning and civil behavior. All the attributes taught within the LifeWise curriculum are supportive and beneficial to the education efforts of the school system. They are deep inner core truths that inform the student regarding their relationship to their Creator God and of the purpose of their life here on earth. The provision for allowing LifeWise to operate, is a matter of settled law by a decision of the Supreme Court back in 1952. The three prerequisites for off-site religious teaching require to be off public school property, to be privately funded, and to require the consent of the parents. LifeWise meets all three of these. Informed consent is a backbone of a free society, and parental consent is a foundational truth that should never be infringed upon. The LifeWise staff is very much disciplined regarding the allowed departure and arrival time back at school property, as well as the safe transport management and teaching of the students in their care. Their track record speaks to that. I would submit that this off-site instructional opportunity is supportive and foundational to all other teaching and student interaction that takes place throughout the day in the life of our students. Thank you for your support, and thank you for all you do on behalf of TK.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Thank you, Ms. Provost. Anyone else? Right.
Hello, my name is Lillian Griswold. I am 9 years old and I'm in 4th grade. Something I'd like to talk about is the fact that the 4th grade specialist teachers won't be teaching next year. Some people from school have been really upset about the fact that next year we won't be able to do a concert, bucket drumming, or solos. Also, we won't be able to do any, people have been looking forward to sewing in art class, but since we're getting a new art teacher here for next year, we don't think we're going to be able to do that. People have been trying to start a petition, but we realized that it was above the level of the people who are going to see it, and that's why I'm here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
So I am Lillian Griswold's mom. My name is Catherine Key Griswold. I've been involved in the schools in a variety of ways, and one of the things that I want to recognize right here is she's in 4th grade, which means she's learning about governance. This is a great opportunity for her to learn a little bit more. We are counting the number of board members and counting the number of staff here in the room today, and she is really passionate about access to arts and music and PE and the specials program we have in the district. And the kids have been hearing about some of these changes that are happening with teachers, with education. I'm sure there's financial constraints involved in that. But those are such valuable experiences and skills for our kids. And I just wanted to, she was wanting to talk today, so I wanted to make sure that she had that opportunity. For me as a parent, I know, many of us know that music supports math patterning and working memory, PE improves regulation and focus, art supports emotional processing and creativity, library and media teaches resource and digital literacy, and STEM builds problem solving and career exposure. And anything we can do to have more specials in the schools, not less, I am in support of that. Also just wanted to mention, when we're talking about equity within our schools, I understand some buildings had certain access and other buildings had others, but by the end of these kids' schooling, they would have had the same thing because they all go through all 3 of those buildings. So when we're looking at that equity lens, I see that my daughter is missing out on opportunities for the musical that didn't happen this year, that there's these opportunities that are looking at potentially getting cut, or that, at least that's what the kids are hearing and what the parents are hearing. So if that's wrong, I think more communication is really needed, but I want these opportunities that I've seen these other kids years ahead of her participating in, and it is so, Ms. Filipiak did a wonderful job with the concert this year, but it wasn't a musical. And I would love that opportunity for my daughter. So thank you all for everything that you do to support our kids and our community. I really appreciate it. I know all of the board members are volunteers. I appreciate all of you, appreciate our staff and the team here. I love our district, but I want to see those specials continue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Hi, I apologize in advance. Between allergies and a very chatty class today, I am kind of losing my voice. So I apologize if you can't hear me. I am Ann Clute, a resident of Middleville, a TK parent, an active volunteer in the preschool and elementary levels, and a substitute teacher within these buildings as well. Also, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. I was the author of the recent chatter post that triggered the district-wide email this morning. I met with Rob Pouch and John Washburn this morning before school to discuss the misinformation in my post. While I agree that I did use some incorrect terms like the ABC scheduling and whatnot, my post did convey the same basic information as the letter that came out a few hours later. McFall is going to switch from having 2 sessions of music, art, and gym a week to having a rotating schedule of 1 special a day, 5 days with 3 specials. The math makes rotation the only equitable solution. The same type of rotation will also be implemented at Lee and Page, which they are going from art and gym twice a week and music once to a more rotating schedule. In order to cut the specials down to the projected 54 blocks a day, we do not need 8 special teachers. That's just math. I fully agree with that. It was even confirmed during our meeting this morning that it would be going down to 6.5 teachers when 1 teacher only teaching specials half the day. That does mean that there will be a specials position eliminated. While one of those staff is being transferred to another position part-time, I was told that another is not getting their contract renewed. So there is staff losing because she is not certified to go into a classroom, is from what I've understood. With the reduced number of teachers, they will have to travel between the buildings. I was glad to learn that the travel schedule in grade division has not yet been determined, despite the affected staff being told that it had been. I'm hopeful that the meeting this afternoon to discuss some of this was a fruitful one, and that the staff and students will continue to thrive with whatever was decided. Gossip was mentioned a lot in our meeting this morning. The drips and drabs of information that came out about this significant change seemed very counterintuitive to both this board's and this admin's repeated commitment to transparency. While I received an unprompted email within a few hours of my post, several staff were told that they had to go through the proper channels to have their questions and concerns addressed. These proper channels didn't always have the information that was needed. And when concerns aren't being acknowledged, of course, people are going to talk, especially when the few answers that they do get are different. I know some people were told one thing, some people are told another thing. That just creates confusion and chaos, and of course, people are going to talk. Scared people with no information are going to seek out information, basically. Staff should have been informed as these decisions were being contemplated, and their feedback should have been considered as soon as possible. I chose to move to TK for the community. That community has been changing since my oldest started school. We have had repeated turnover in staffing from the lowest para level all the way to the admin level. It was a struggle to find candidates for our last superintendent search because of the notoriety.
Sorry, that's 3 minutes.
Oh, that is? Okay.
Yep. Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Anyone else? All right, that will close public comment. Committee and liaison reporting. I did not hear of any committee meeting. Mr. Price, did TAPRC meet?
We met.
Can you turn on your mic, please, sir? Thank you.
We met a few weeks ago, about a month ago. Good things happening. We're basically just narrowing down what we are focusing on. I think I've touched base on this a little bit more. We're working with the Williams Works to maybe do a phase approach and see what the budgeting might be with the Sheridan Park process, but there's also some other good things happening. Not enough to really update everything yet, but hopefully in the near future we have a site. We're working with the village pretty hard on what their plan is and the townships and so on. So
Fantastic. Thank you. Any other committee and liaison reporting? All right, we'll move on then to consent grouping. Looking to hear a motion regarding the consent grouping items.
I'll make a motion to approve the items of the consent grouping 3A through 3D.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Mr. Winger and support by Ms. Hess. Any discussion on the motion? All right, that is a roll call vote.
Brock?
Yes.
Hess, yes. Winger?
Yes.
Yes.
Price?
yes.
Stanton?
Yes.
Flickenbach?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, board. Just a quick little pause here, and I know it's not on our agenda, but I do want to celebrate it. I think, Mr. Pouch, we have 5 in our consent grouping. There's a personnel report which reports some new hires that we have to the district. I believe we have 5 of 6 of them here today, Mr. Pouch.
Yes, thank you, President Brock. So it's an exciting time of year where from an HR staffing standpoint, which we start those conversations in January and start looking at what are our staffing needs as retirements come in and people depart and maybe move out of state and do different things. So with that, it is an extremely competitive hiring market. So we are very intentional in our process. We have a very thorough process that all 5 of these individuals will tell you, and I bet it's probably more thorough than any other process they've been part of. And we try to get in front of the busy rush to try to be fully staffed by June 1st, because the candidate pool starts to dwindle significantly after June 1st. Sorry if I didn't say June 1st. So with that, our process here for hiring all staff is at least a 3-round process for professional staff. It involves maybe a meet and greet or a short panel interview, an in-depth panel interview, a performance task or teaching in front of kids, and then the final round, I get to spend 20, 30 minutes with them, undo the tie, undo their tie if they're wearing a tie, or take their sport coat off and just be humans and just talk about life to make sure they're gonna be a great fit here for our kids. So with that, I have 5 individuals. I would love to introduce them. So as I introduce you, please stand up and I'll brag a couple things about you. So first, we have teaching music, hired as a music teacher here, elementary music teacher, is Molly Perrin. Molly could not make it last minute. We'll invite her back, but we're excited for the wonderful opportunities that Molly will provide as part of our specials program at the elementary, and I'm pretty encouraged on the performances and activities that Molly will be able to contribute to our music department in elementary. Next, we have Kiana Dudek. So Kiana just wrapped up student teaching here with us at McFall Elementary. Yes, you may recognize the last name, as both of her parents also work here, but more importantly, she is a graduate of TK, and this is her dream job, and I will be long retired in 25 years, but when I come back to visit my friends, she'll still be here teaching, doing great things with kids. So welcome back. We're excited to have you.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Next, we have Hannah Jorin. So Hannah is a Berry County graduate. She comes from the other side of the county, and that is okay. And we will embrace her here because our kids are absolutely going to fall in love with her. Hannah has a different path that brought her here, did some student teaching at Plainwell Middle School, but has a deep love for horses and horseback riding, and spent some time in Florida getting to do some bucket list items before taking this job. So as I sat down with her, I am very far removed from my middle school self, but I know our kids in the conversations that her and I had are just gonna fall in love with the Berry County background and the understanding of how our kids are raised here. So welcome, Hannah. Next, we have a new face, but a face that has been around all year, but now it's official. We have Ashley Pippin. Ashley took on a long-term sub position starting in October-ish this year, and Ashley did her student teaching last year. Her and I, along with many of these, share the Grand Valley State University connection. So another one who is close to home, and I challenge her again when I come back in 25 years and visit my friends, you will still be here doing amazing things with our kids as well. So Ashley, thank you for helping us out this year. We know long-term subbing is not easy, but most importantly, thank you for your commitment and welcome to the team. Kayla. Sensi, okay, I should have known this because I specifically remember after we introduced ourselves, but I batted wrong and struck out on that one. So I apologize, I will make it up. So Kayla is another local candidate from Kent County, and their pathway to us is a little bit different. Social workers is a master level program. So they do a very intense internship, upwards of 900 hours, if I remember right from our conversation, a year and a half of an internship of not getting paid, I don't believe, for the most part. So she is ready to sign that contract and come August get a paycheck. So she's joining us after a year and a half internship down at Otsego Middle School. Came in highly recommended as we have connections down there with some of our staff who have significant others that work there. So I always tell these candidates that we don't call who's on your resume, we call other people because we have a lot of connections. So we're really excited for Kayla to have a positive impact in our elementary program and grow our elementary social work program. We're fortunate to be able to add in this area to continue to support kids. There's a need to where all of our buildings we'll have a full-time social worker next year available to kids. So Kayla, welcome aboard. We're excited to have you.
Thank you, Mr. Pouch, and welcome new team members to the team. Thank you. All right, next item is the board items for information discussion, the Early Childhood Center building presentation. Mrs. Hooksma.
All right, well, hello. I'm Amanda Hooksma. I'm the director here at the ECC. This is my third school year in this role, and I'm going to talk about all the things we're doing. All right, so currently we have one ECSE, which is Early Childhood Special Ed classroom, and then we have a very robust inclusion program within our GSRP classroom that also services some students that have early childhood special education needs. We have a 3-year-old tuition classroom that has 2 sections. We have a Young Force afternoon currently. That is the same teacher, Mrs. Rowley teaches all of them. And then we have 8 GSRP classrooms. We have 192 students. We have 1 administrator, 11 teachers. We have associate teachers because we're licensed through the state of Michigan through childcare, so we have to have certain ratios for our students. So we have 2 staff in each classroom. The second staff member is considered an associate teacher. And then we have an additional 7 support staff, 4 intervention staff, and then 1 office staff member. Data. So I'm really excited that this year we have data that we can share across the building. So we've had some big changes to our building this year with us taking GSRP back at a district level. So now we have all the data for all of our kids that walk through this door. And for 3-year-olds, our biggest focus is just that social emotional piece. It's the first time they've left their house, their people that are their primary caregivers. And so from fall, when they walked in, their core assessment, which is the data that we use, their average was 2.5, and in the winter, it was 3.1, so they're gradually growing, and next week, we'll have our final checkpoint, because they're about to wrap up school, and I believe it's just going to continue to grow. So we have a lot less crying than we did at the beginning of the school year, which is a huge thing as they begin to be our 4-year-olds next year. And then for GSRP, we look at the social emotional needs, but part of that is just really getting them ready for their next step as we launch them to McFalls. So approaches to learning is a big piece where they start to think out their learning and how they can plan and recall what they're doing. And then language literacy, that's like our ELA chunk, and then math. So same thing, when they came in the fall, they all averaged about 3, somewhere in there. Winter, our biggest growth was math, which was kind of cool to see. Like, that's not one I would have nailed as the growth area, but that, and with this assessment piece at 4, they're saying as a cumulative, as a 4-year-old student, if they're hitting 4 as a whole, they're ready for kindergarten. So again, I do think that with our final checkpoint, they're gonna be, a lot of them hit that at winter. We're working on that literacy piece a little bit more, but they'll be ready for Mr. Sleeman and all his friends. So where we are now, like I said, this year was a big year of change, and it's a huge year of learning for us. So we implemented a new curriculum. We're using the high scope of curriculum. It was one of the state approved curriculums. GSRP has a list, and then the ISD has a smaller list. And so that's the curriculum that we are running. The assessment that goes with high scope is Core Advantage. So this is also new this year. We implemented MTSS as a building-wide. We have building-wide expectations. If you walked in, the big poster hanging up when you walk in, and we rolled out different expectations in different area. Our famous statement is tractor speed. So we use that all the time, tractor speed in the hallway, race car speed on the playground. So lots of signage, but they've really, really taken to it. They sing, be responsible, be safe, be respectful, and they're gonna know it when they walk in at McFall next year. Another piece of MTSS is we have a behavioral tracking system. It kind of aligns with Swiss, which is what K-12 uses. It's EC Swiss, so they don't necessarily talk perfectly to each other, but we're using the data to kind of track target behaviors. Through it, we found that transitions are tricky, and so we're doing things to beef that up. And lastly, what we're doing right now is we rolled out committees to kind of give staff buy-in and ownership in some of the different areas in our building. And they've spearheaded tons of different things that are for our parents and our families. They had a muffin morning, a literacy night. We've done wonder walks on the Paul Henry Trail. We did a social emotional make it take it night where families can come and make like come down kits. And staff drove all of that. So I'm really, really proud of all the work they've put in and where we're headed. So hopefully next year we'll have a grasp of our new assessment data. We can really take that and push forward promise standards. We currently have social emotional promise standards that roll out just like the K-5 does twice a year. We push out that and that was the first year we've done that. So the parents will get a final one at the end of the year, but we're hoping to add to that next year and base it off the state standards for literacy and math. And then also just taking that assessment data and really driving our instruction to find those gaps to help just push those numbers up and beef up our family engagement with MTSS. We got it in-house, now let's see if we can push it out to really drive that home and using our data to really help our students. We see little people they're little, but they have big feelings too, and just really supporting all of the families and all of the kiddos and all of their needs. So that's where we're headed. And that is it.
Huxma, does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Huxma?
Is there any feedback from the committees? Do you need anything?
Not that I've heard. We've been pretty blessed with some extra funds that we got when we brought in GSRP in-house. So we've been planning purposefully with that funds to kind of spread it over time. So some of the things that they've asked for, they've been able to get with that. But yeah, I'm just hoping to serve more. Was I under 5?
I have a question. How many times have you said tractor speed over the PA system?
A lot.
A lot? Okay.
We've heard families
I love
say,
it.
like,
That's good.
older siblings are using that verbiage. We're like, yes, that's us.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, those terms get used at home a lot.
There you go. All right.
For that.
Thank you, Jim. All right, our next item on the agenda, middle school science curriculum proposal. Is that Mrs. Wonders? All right. Oh, boy. It's a lot of paper. Oh, boy. There you go. There you go. Oh.
They're by grade levels. I'll take one. Thank you.
Tractor speed was something I had to learn because not growing up in a rural area, the first couple of times I hit that, I was like, well, I'm late, I guess. I didn't anticipate that. Started to leave a little earlier, so I didn't know tractors. Yeah, that's the thing. So, so Megan Wonders, Director of Teaching and Learning, and so I was with you last month for our middle school ELA curriculum, back this month with our middle school science curriculum. So we are presenting to you for approval MyStar as the science curriculum that was selected. So if you remember last month, a very similar theme to what I'm presenting as far as our process. So we had our grade level teams and then myself and our building administrators, and then a great deal of support from our Kent ISD science consultant who did a good amount of training last spring to prepare teachers for their fall pilot, and then supported us all the way through this year. It's just a little bit different of a model than some of the other curriculums that you look into, so it was really great to have her hand and support us along the way. Timeline for selection. So as I mentioned, training began last spring to get ready. And so in the fall, they piloted MyStar. And then in the winter, on to our second pilot, which was Open SciEd. And then into this spring, where we analyzed our data, reviewed through our rubric of how does it meet differentiation, how does it meet, what is the technology component, what are, how about for our EL population, varied levels for differentiation in instruction for offerings of the readings within the materials. So go through a plethora of items to really see which program would be the best fit for us. And that brings us today to proposing MyStar as our selected curriculum. So a little bit about MyStar. So this comes out of Michigan Tech University. It was written specifically to meet the NGSS standards, so the Next Generation Science Standards, which align with the Michigan State standards. So there's kind of some different terminology there, but we are aligned in meeting the standards that are laid forth. So the focus of it is moving away from the memorization of terms and things that have to do with science, and really being hands-on and getting into the activity and the inquiry and the projects to build the understanding around science, as well as the engineering practices are embedded into what they are doing. So their lessons are built on a 5-phase. Each unit is built in lesson around this, where the first being engaged, so it's capturing the interest of the students through some activity and questioning and seeing, you're just building that initial foundation of their knowledge. Then the explore, where they make observations through an activity. Then explain, so they analyze their observations that they made and discuss, and that's generally going to be teacher-led, trying to filter in the information that they wouldn't know and need to be presented with. Then elaboration happens, so that new learning they've acquired, they apply to a similar problem or project from where they began to see if they can apply that new knowledge. And then evaluate, so we want to assess the understanding of what they've gone through in every lesson or unit. So it is always going to be kind of working through that phase with different models, different projects, collaboration. It is a very much hands-on curriculum. So it's not built off of reading in a textbook, but it's going to be a lot of inquiry, student journaling, working in teams to make these conclusions about science. So just as an example with some pictures here, this was back last spring. So it's a couple pictures of our middle school team training with our ISD consultant. And why I bring this up is something else that is unique to MyStar is in order to teach their curriculum, you must have the training. Now that's sometimes not always the case. You can elect to have professional development through our different companies, which we always do because we want to learn as much as we can about a product or a resource. But it is a requirement of MyStar, and you have to have your trainers trained. So our ISD consultant is actually a certified trainer, and that is how she prepared our team for phase 1 of implementation and being able to perform the pilot. So if this is adopted, we have that worked into our plan, and teachers would go through modules with MyStar before teaching the units. So they really want to make sure teachers are informed and prepared to instruct students in these modules. They also offer off-the-shelf lessons. So these components are mixed in to the units. So I'm trying to think of a unit offhand. If you were doing 6th grade, the water cycle, and you needed to back up with your class, and you notice, they're really missing kind of a key concept that they're going to need to use throughout this lesson. It offers these off-the-shelf lessons that they can supplement into any unit at various times to help beef up that knowledge that their students might not have, that prior knowledge, to be able to complete the task to its fullest. So another nice component, just as that differentiation level and support level, that they offer these lessons that can be used, and they're really flexible as to how they can be integrated. I do have a little bit of data, and I caution you that, yes, these numbers here actually come from their research of, I mean, you're talking Michigan Tech University. These are minds that are going to be deep in data, and so they pulled their own data. And this number, so the 43.9% is showing science MSTEP scores were above that from schools that used the MyStar curriculum. I did some digging and looked at Kent County schools that are using it. And so 6 out of the 7 that were using it showed in 2025 above 51%. So that is climbing. And I think that really speaks to that, getting kids into those real life scenarios and applying their knowledge. It's just not that rote memorization and spitting it back, but really working in that application piece. A couple of recognitions that MyStar has gotten. So STEMWorks, they were admitted to STEMWorks database as attaining accomplished status. So that's based on their lessons. They're evaluated and have they met the criteria. So that's one organization that they were recognized within. And then the Next Generation Science Standards, they have achieved status as a quality example of NGSS design. So, and knowing that their lessons all follow this model, just different content that they're looking at, they would all could potentially achieve this, status within the NGSS. So very reassuring that at the standards level, they're getting recognition there. So then next steps, we're here, we'll bring it back to you in June for approval. This is for introduction. And then hopefully we would be able to roll out, get the kits that we need, because it's very materials based, so get those kits and get trained in them and ready to roll out in August.
Great, thank you, Ms. Wonders. Any questions?
The off-the-shelf lessons that you mentioned, is there added cost to those, or are they included into the?
They are included. Mm-hmm.
Nice, okay.
Yeah, so your cost is in the kits. You would then have access to all of the lessons that you have here. And then if you choose to do, there's a couple different ways to get student journals. They can be printed or you can print them on your own as you do use different components of them.
Okay.
I just had a couple questions. So when I researched this particular curriculum, the thing I really loved that stood out was, like you said, that it was very hands-on, which I feel so many kids are missing out on when it comes to the sciences, and it's so important. But then when I looked at like reviews, and I'm hoping maybe every school's different, every district's different, so I'm sure you've heard of these too, but I'm hoping to get some feedback. Mm-hmm. Some of the concerns that kept popping up were that the teachers were having difficulty assessing because it was more subjective than fact-based science. How do you feel that's been handled so far, or how are the teachers feeling with that so far at TK?
Yeah, you do see that in the assessments. They have a pre and post test, so you're comparing, where did they begin, did they acquire the knowledge? And so not only are you using that, I think that's, you want to look beyond one assessment piece too. So
Sure.
Teachers are assessing through their observations. They're involved, as those groups are working, they're taking data back as teachers during all of that time. So that wasn't a concern raised amongst our staff.
Okay.
But I also think it's a staff that they're used to working within assessments that they have built and using rubrics. And so it is a practice they're familiar with.
Okay.
And not one that came up as a concern for our team.
And then another concern that seemed to be kind of repetitive was for students that were already like below average in science. Mm-hmm. They seem to struggle with this curriculum because it's more subjective and group based, and some of them can kind of get lost in the shuffle. Like, how is that being addressed at TK?
I think some of that it's dependent on who's teaching it. So if you have teachers who are aware of their needs and how to differentiate, and we do talk a lot about differentiation in this district for sure. We have a lot of data already alerting us to which students need intervention, whether that be in ELA and math, and that information is shared with our staff. So yes, could that happen? I can't say that couldn't happen any more so reading in a textbook that would be far above their reading level 2. It's up to our teachers to make those adjustments and make sure and we do that now, whether that means, an example might be if it's a content area that they know they've identified these students are already struggling in this area, the teacher can pull a small group lesson and pre-teach some of the content. Those are things that kind of are already happening, but that wouldn't be any different for science, that we would address those through pre-teaching, reteaching. And yes, I mean, group work can be hard, but I do think that's a realistic expectation of life. So the earlier we can get them in and working with that. And for a teacher, I could speak for myself as a teacher, I'm going to be strategic. If I know we're working on a hard unit, well, you're going to make your groups strategic and know where you might have to focus a little more.
So there's still like plenty of room for flexibility and.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Great.
And I think that's the only 2 questions that I had.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else?
This says, like this one shows 7 different units, and it says teachers should plan on teaching 4 units a year, in some situations planning for 3 units. Who's making the determination of what you're teaching and how is that gonna work?
Yes, so I brought all of the units to you for approval so that, as your initial year, you would not make it through seven units. That's with any new implementation, you have those couple years of growth as you get better and know your materials. So we will work as a team. It is dependent on making sure, we have our standards that we need to incorporate in, and so making sure we're hitting the units that we need to make sure we address all the standards required.
Perfect.
I did have one more question. So if this is a more hands-on, like very different than what we've usually used, how is this going to transition to the next building if they're not doing that same type of science?
Yeah, and I think it depends on which science and which course, and that's, I think we're moving more towards that. We have a lot of conversations about that, and actually our high school science department was begging for time with our middle school department to really align. We weren't able to because we were so busy through the pilot process. We weren't able to do that, but we have it on deck for the fall between those 2 groups. So they are looking to collaborate, know what they're doing, know what standards, and then how can we grow upon that. So those conversations, they have been asked for, they are wanted for. Yes, some high school curriculum is going to be more textbook heavy. I mean, when you think about your AP chemistry class, that's going to look different than, you're not running labs maybe as much as you could in some other classes. I think that varies, but we do want to incorporate more of the project-based, getting in that collaborative mode, and I think through those conversations with our middle school teachers and that we're starting that process, we're going to be able to incorporate that more easily into those classes at the high school.
So, and I'm sorry to bombard you, I
that's
just want to
okay.
understand. So at the middle school level, if they're concentrating more on hands-on group work, less vocabulary-driven, text-driven, and then they go into high school and it is focusing on, vocab, is there going to be like a gap in learning that, like, there's going to be an expectation when they get to 9th grade or even general science where it's assumed that they know these terminologies and these certain, educational scientific facts coming in?
Yeah, and
what
even though
happens
it
with that?
is collaborative or in the project base, it doesn't take away from that you're still focused on making sure you're hitting those standards and criteria. So that vocabulary is built into those lessons.
Okay.
So it sounds a little free, and I get the nervousness there that it might sound too free when you're saying project base, but it's with direction, it's with intent. It's that the vocab is still there. You're just discovering it and discovering a meaning for it through the project versus just maybe a multiple choice, do you know what this word means? There's still going to be that building of that knowledge. It's just really trying to put that focal point on them growing that knowledge through these activities instead of just reading a text. But the vocabulary is still embedded, the concepts the standards are there. That is all part of what the activities are.
Is somebody going to be looking at, the general entries, science class for 9th graders to make sure that they
Definitely,
bridge?
that's part of my work and getting those groups together, and that is what we look at, those standards and that carryover, and how we have our standards broken up between our science courses now in the high school and just making sure that's all aligned. So
Awesome.
I am in that work now. It's just a matter of there's a lot of different grades and subjects, pre-K through 12, and there's one of me, so as fast as I can get into them and get into all these groups. But the reassuring fact for me is that science team at the high school was asking, begging for that. So that's where I really believe, like, even if I'm not in that presence all the time, they're there. They're thinking through that, but I will be supporting it. Yes, that's.
I'm very excited. Like, this would have done wonders for me when I was this age. So I'm extremely excited. I just want to make sure that I understand.
There still is reading, there still is. It's just trying to emphasize on those engineering practices and solving real life problems so they can connect to it in a different way.
Thank you so much. And is it ever like a possibility where they'll have the same curriculum over at the high school where they bridge together, or is that just not something that normally happens?
So MyStar it's specifically written as a middle school curriculum. Not to say that they couldn't expand, absolutely. It gets a little different because you get into such specific areas in high school, so I can't predict,
I was just
but
curious.
It's where it started, yeah.
Thanks, Megan. I appreciate it. I'm super excited.
All right, thank
Any
you.
questions?
Yeah,
Thank you, Ms.
I
Wonders.
appreciate the hands-on, like, sort of Montessori learning style. That goes a long way, and I can see how the hesitancy with pure observation can get a little confusing, but in the middle school, there's usually, like, if you're doing groups and then you take a test, and is there gonna be a book or is it online learning?
They have, so it's a combination, it's not a textbook, so it is through handouts they would have and journals that they would build, but it's not an actual textbook.
Yeah, so they can ask questions and sort of like, they have a instructional period where they have to, before they take the test.
Right.
So, yeah. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wonders.
Thank you.
All right, our next item on the agenda is the Neola Board Policy Update, Volume 40.2, the first reading.
Thank you, President Brock. Before we dive into this exciting work, I would like to let my guests know that came tonight, you are free to leave. The future employees, we will not hold it against you. We know many of you have to get up early or you're traveling, you have jobs tomorrow, so if you have to go to the new hires, feel free to do so. Thank you, President Brock. So, board members, what you should have in front of you in the board packet is our Neola policy update. And after speaking with President Brock, giving the nature of this update and the collaboration within our board so everybody's on the same page and ask questions at the same time, we just thought, since it was a lighter update, we would bring this to the full board so the full board can hear the update. So with that, I'm going to walk through each policy. I'm not reading it. I'm just going to hit on the updates. And at the end of each policy update, I will ask the board if there's any questions. So I believe I have this noted in order that it is in the packet. So starting with bylaw 0100, definitions. This is a revised board policy. This bylaw has been revised to reflect the provisions of House Bill 4141, which was Public Act number 2 of this calendar year, which prohibits students from using a wireless communication device on school grounds during instructional time. The definition of wireless communication devices, WCD, was added to this bylaw, and the definition of personal communications device, PCD, was modified to include WCDs. This is the only change to this bylaw. So if you flip back to what I'm going to say is page 2, you will see the green under personal communication devices. That hits on what I just went over. That is the only change to this policy. One could say it's a clerical change, but it is maybe a little more than that. So any questions? Otherwise, we will move on to the next policy. The next update we have is policy 1410, which is staff ethics. Although we have other staff ethics policies in different levels of our policies, different docs. This is a new policy. The intention of policy 1410, staff ethics, is to ensure an effective educational program by establishing high standards of integrity, ideals, and professional conduct for all administrators, as the 1000s is administrators. The policy outlined key ethical responsibilities across 5 areas: the profession itself, professional competence, relationships with students, engagement with the community, and the responsibility or the responsible use of technology. Ultimately, this framework is designed to promote the well-being of students and the district community while upholding the highest levels of professional and ethical practice. Currently, we do not have a 1000 series ethics policy, which is administration. For whatever reason, it's new now. They didn't have it previously. This policy would now be consistent, which what we'll get to in a minute, policy 3210, which is professional staff ethics, and policy 4210, support staff ethics. The adoption should be considered in order to maintain consistent expectations. So for the board, you're very familiar with how board docs and Neola works. We have the same policies across different employee groups, and this speaks to that. For whatever reason, Neola did not have a 1000 administrator policy, and now this will align with 3210 and 4210, which there's a couple tweaks there I'll hit on in a minute. Any questions on 1410, which is a new policy, staff ethics? Okay, feel free to interrupt at any time if something hits you as we're going through this. So now we move on to policy 3210, which is an existing policy, staff ethics. It adds in the front there, professional. You'll see in the green, professional. It also important to note, at some point, this policy missed in a Neola update, and our current version of this policy, if you were to look in board docs right now, does not have A through E, which is what I just read in that other policy. So whether or not it just missed an update, or at the time the board opted not to take it, but I would recommend to the board it's time we take that. So all 3 of these ethic policies across the different docs are in alignment. So although the green is new, technically the A through E would also be new, as it's not in our current policy, but it's in the other chapters. Any questions on 3210? Moving on to another new policy, 4210, staff ethics. As described above in policy 1410, staff ethics, this new parallel policy is to establish the overall expectation of ethical behavior for district staff. This policy is consistent with 1410 and 3210, staff ethics, and policy 3210, which this is for support staff. So it is identical to the previous 2 that I just explained. So it will put all 3 of these policies for administration, professional staff, and support staff in direct alignment. Seeing no questions, we'll continue on. We have the next update is policy 2370.01, online blended learning. This is a revised policy based on a legislative change. This policy has been revised to reflect the latest provisions of the School Aid Act regarding online blended learning, which is section 21F. The act eliminated the provision for a district to provide online instruction for not more than 15 days per school year. This revision should be adopted in order to reflect current provisions of state law. If you flip to what I'm saying is the back page or the second page, up at the top there, you will see where it references the MCL, and it's been crossed out because that legislation has changed. That is the only change to this policy. Any questions? I'm seeing none, so we will continue on, but again, feel free to go back at any time. Next, we have policy 3120.9 and 4120.9, which is a policy covering volunteers. Those two policies are going to be rescinded, and they're going to be renumbered into the next policy, which is 8120.9, which will cover all of our volunteers, opposed to having multiple policies. So policies 3120.09 and 4120.09 have both been deleted and replaced by one policy that has been placed in the 8000 series. Much of the content remains the same. The change to a different series recognizes that volunteers are not considered district employees of the district, but rather function more to support general district operations. School districts should keep in mind that this policy governs unpaid volunteers. In the future, any revisions to the volunteer policy will be made to this one only, 8120.09. So if we kept the other ones, we would not see future updates for those, and there's not a need to. So essentially, it's creating one volunteer policy. Any questions on 8120.09 volunteers? Okay, we are more than halfway done with this policy update. Moving on to 5136, wireless communication devices. This is a replacement policy. This replacement policy reflects the provisions of Senate Bill 495, which was Public Act 1 of 2026, and House Bill 4140, which was Public Act 2 of 2026, which were signed by Governor Whitmore in February of 2026. This legislation prohibits students from using a wireless communication device on school grounds during instructional time. It allows for specific exemptions and requires a protocol for when and how pupils are permitted to use communication devices during an emergency that needs to be included in our emergency operation plan. This replacement policy should be adopted in order to reflect current provisions of the law. I would point out to the board, if you flip again to what I'm going to say is the second page where the options start, it is administrative recommendation that we choose, I guess it's at the bottom of the first page and then goes on to the second page. It is administrative recommendation that we choose option A, because this is a handbook matter, not a policy matter. What I mean, option A says students who violate this policy by using the WCD on school grounds during instructional time will be subject to discipline in accordance with the Student Code of Conduct. That's how it is now. We want to change the handbook, not have to come back and change a policy every time if the handbook changes. That's a handbook matter, not a policy matter. So it is my recommendation to keep option A, and then also it is administrator's recommendation to select option 3. If you read through options 1 and 2, and then read through 3, I believe you will see that option 3 covers all privacy scenarios with some flexibility, so everything's not spelled out if administration needs it in the event of a student conduct situation. Essentially, I have it as 3 also covers 1 and 2, so it's the administration to select 3 as it's more broad. Are there any questions on 5136, the update to the legislation of wireless communication devices? Moving on, we have a revised policy in 6320, purchasing. This policy has been revised to include language specific to bidding requirements and processes. Additionally, the drafting note reflects current bidding thresholds issued each year by Michigan Department of Education as required by law. You will see all the MCLs tied into this, so this is connected to competitive bidding legislative changes on the first page, and it goes on to half of the second page. Any questions on 6320?
I just have one quick question that did not come to me earlier. I would have brought it to your attention, but it, going back, I just want to make sure with the change that's stating no cameras So I want to make sure we're not violating Supreme Court law, which in my head, I'm thinking, and I haven't looked into this beforehand, but it's come up in conversations in prior years, where Michigan is a one-sided, like, if I wanted to record somebody, I legally can, don't need permission. Does this violate that? Have we looked into that? And I feel really bad because I would have brought this up sooner.
No, this is a great question. Let's read through this. This is why we have this first reading. So WCDs, so I'm reading option 3, so the community and visitors here know as well. So WCDs, including but not limited to those with cameras, may not be activated or utilized at any time in a school situation where a reasonable expectation of privacy exists. These locations and circumstances include, but are not limited to, classrooms, gymnasiums, locker rooms, shower facilities, rest bathrooms, and any other areas where students or others may change clothes or be in any stage or degree of changing clothes. The superintendent and building principals are authorized to determine other specific locations and situations where use of the WCD is absolutely prohibited. So when I read this, my mind did not go there to say, for example, if you're having a conversation with a parent and they want to record it, my mind didn't go there, but I certainly can seek clarification from the legal counsel at Neola. My mind went to private bathroom, locker room type scenarios where, believe it or not, kids do take phones in there for a variety of reasons. And this gives administration the backing to deal with those accordingly. So that's where my mind went, but I will seek clarification on that.
And I would agree with that. I think where it might be muddled is where it includes classroom. Because I'm not sure that would be considered a private atmosphere, considering it's a public school paid for by taxes. So I know that it's come up in legal battles already as far as either students and parents bringing up issues with a teacher recording via online during 2020 with their students, or vice versa with a student recording something that's happening in the classroom. And so I guess that's where my concern comes in, when we're restricting the ability for either a student or a teacher to record classroom activity.
Yeah, I think the key words here are personal privacy exists. That's also gray. Now, that's left up to administration to decide what is personal privacy. But I have it circled, and this is a great question to come back with on the second reading. I will have an answer, and I will have options for the board if there's deeper discussions that's needed on that.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so going back to 6320 purchasing, any questions on that one? It's MCL legislative language. And I think this is very important when we get into construction and doing things. It's very nice for an administrative team, regardless of who's in these seats 15 years from now, that you have a process laid out of what's expected for you when you go to bid, and this helps lay that out. Okay, moving on, we have, it looks like 2 left. The next policy is Policy 6325, which is the procurement of federal grants and funds. This is a revised policy. This gets a little finance jargon that President Brock and Deputy Superintendent Provost probably get a little excited about, because this is their world. So this is not my world, so bear with me as I try to make it sound like I understand this language. So this policy was revised to reflect threshold amounts for price analysis requirement threshold, which was $350,000 effective October 1st of 2025. Revisions to this policy should be adopted in order to be consistent with federal regulations, again, effective October 1st of last year. The Federal Simplified Accusation Threshold, also known as SAT, has been adjusted to $350,000. This modification, which governs the requirement for formal price or cost analysis under 2 CFR 200.320, represents an increase from the previous amount, which was $250,000 limit in accordance with inflationary updates to the Federal Acquisition Regulatory, also known as FAR. So in simple terms, the threshold went from $250,000 to $350,000. Any questions on that? Okay, the last update that we have is policy 8655, which is specialized transportation for students with an IEP. Although this is a new policy, this is nothing new in our world of education. We've been doing this as long as I've been involved in education, so it does give the district a little bit of support and parents some support as well. So the intent of this new policy is to ensure that students with an IEP receive specialized transportation as a related service when it is necessary for them to access their FAPE-free and appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment. The IEP team is responsible for determining the need for specialized transportation based on the student's individual needs, considering all options to keep the student with their peers and without cost being a factor in the determination. So again, we are doing this. It's in the special education regs. They're now just putting it in policy, and I think it would be good to have there because future admin and principals can refer it if they're not familiar with this. Any questions on 8655 or any of the other policies?
All right, hearing no questions, I'll remind the board that this is the first reading, so if there are questions that come up between now and our next meeting, please make sure to get those over to Mr. Pouch. And also, going back to our last item on the agenda, the middle school science curriculum proposal, those books and items are available in the admin office. So if anyone of the public would like to see them or the board, please make sure to contact Mrs. Wonders, and we'll have those available. Our next item on the agenda, the McFall traffic. Who's got this one?
I happily will talk
yes,
about
here
this
we
one.
go.
So with the assistance of Deputy Superintendent Provost. So it is no secret, if you go downtown 2 o'clock to, we'll just say 3:45, it's bottlenecked. It's congested. It's not safe. And this is not a new issue. This issue has been here for many years at TK schools. So over the past 6 months, we have been working closely with many different stakeholders, including our transportation department, our school resource officers, our grounds and maintenance team, the administrative team at McFall, and an architectural firm that we have a long-standing history with, known as GMB Architects, to assess the current student pickup and drop-off situation at McFall. So in short, we've called in every player to the game to give us feedback and picked every expert's brain on what are our options here. That's in a nutshell what we did. As part of our strategic plan progress monitoring, our stakeholders shared, as we know too, they've identified a safety concern at McFall. Bleeds into Lee a little bit, which that's a project for a different day. This is where we're starting. So in response, we have conducted multiple site reviews and engaged in extensive discussions with the experts. As a result of this work, hours in rooms looking at several different options. There are other options that if the board gives the directive that they want us to discuss, we will happily do that. They had some barriers. These are the two most feasible options with the least amount of questions. Option A, you are looking at it here. So this is the north side of McFall. Option A is North Loop expansion. This is recommended for the long-term solution that we will not be talking about traffic backed up in front of from McFall anytime in the near future. This option involves extending the existing front loop on the north side of the building to accommodate all of our buses, which range anywhere from up to 19. That's a barrier when we look at other spots where the buses can fit. Making this a dedicated bus loop in the front of the building. Kindergarten pickup and drop-off would remain the same as it is right now, while first grade would shift to the south side of the building, where I'm going to say is the current bus loop. So kindergarten will stay where they're at. First grade will be in the current bus loop. All buses to the north in this expanded bus loop area. The estimated cost with a contingency built in, so could be less, could possibly be more, is $430,000. I would remind the board and the community that we have already earmarked $300,000, part of this year's budget, as part of our capital improvement funds to do that project. That's already been earmarked and casually approved by the board. So what that would mean is the remaining 130 would come from this upcoming year's allocation of capital improvement projects. So the money is there. It is monies that is designated for capital improvement projects. This option provides a long-term solution that enhances student safety while also improving efficiency and overall customer service and experiences for our families. The board knows this, all the community may not know this. We had a bus accident here a couple months ago where our bus sideswiped some cars, and it's just not a safe situation. This would solve that. We do have a second option to discuss, which is option B. It is not as pretty as that one, so that means this one is much cheaper, but it comes with some things that the board needs to consider. So option B, maintain the current bus loop and consolidate parent pickup to the south. This option keeps the bus loop on the south side of the building. The north lot, currently used for first grade pickup, would no longer be utilized, as it does not allow for us to use it, like you're seeing now, without traffic flowing into Main Street. All parent pickup, kindergarten and first grade, would shift to the south side of the building where, what I call the snake, where our current kindergartners are picked up right now. It's no secret, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, I am transparent and open book as possible. This is going to cause longer wait times for our families. And another secret, we release our kids a little early right now. The pupil accounting auditors have already said, we don't want to see that next year. So we will be, if school ends at 3:45, we will be dismissing at 3:45, not 3:35. We can't do that. Pupil accounting will politely let us know. And for those that don't know, we have auditors that audit everything. We are in regular communication and getting audited and reviewed regularly for pupil accounting, which is our clock, hours, minute, and our funding. So it's a very intensive process. So keep that in mind. So wait times are going to be longer. I can't tell you how much longer they're going to be, but they're going to be longer. We're squeezing in double the amount of traffic, which is well over 200 cars, into one loop. Again, there is an unknown. There's a potential for increased traffic congestion in the surrounding neighborhoods. So are we just shifting one problem from one area to the next? And now how far back does that traffic go in the neighborhood? How does it impact the walkers there? So there's a lot that needs to be vetted out if the board wants to continue to dive into this option, but our team wasn't going to put that kind of time into it until we know if this is a viable option or not. Building on that, there are unknown safety concerns. Doesn't mean we can't address them and properly make sure kids are safe, but this is new. Change is hard. So there's unknown safety concerns with approximately 500 kids at the end of the day, all going into the south side of our building. Is it a barrier? I won't know until we dive deeper into it and probably plug your ears, do some trial runs to see what this looks like, if that's the route we decide to go. So at this time, administration is seeking feedback from the board on the next steps. These next steps may include moving forward with one of these options, or to have more discussion on a favorable option, returning with additional information or clarification at a future meeting, or continuing to explore alternative options. But I'll be honest, I don't know what additional experts we invite into the room that come up with better options. They may be there, you pick a different architect's brains, and you may get a completely different result. But you have to keep in mind, 17 buses have to squeeze into the spot. They have to be able to turn around. We looked at the parking lot on the east side of First Street, and then having kids, cross the east side of the building, but that's not a great setup. We don't own First Street. We'd have to shut that down. That's a conversation that's out of our control. So we would be happy to explore other options and invite other architecture firms into the conversation, but the administration is looking forward to direction from the board on the next steps. So with that, I'll turn it over to board discussion.
Any questions?
We discussed improvement projects, and this would increase like 1K next year. And if you look at, just in general, improvement projects, like if you list it in order of importance, okay? Like think about all the other things that we have to do that might be, I don't know, do we need a new heater? You know what I mean? Just things like that. So where would this project sit on a scale of like, say, 1 to 5, 1 to 10 different things,
Very good question. Tough question to answer because hope it doesn't happen, but if a roof blows off tomorrow, that would be priority, but hopefully insurance would help us. Or I've been in districts where you're on wells and your wells go and you got $110,000 for a well. So it's tough to answer that. The facility assessment we have coming up in the fall will give us a better picture of long-term stability on some of these projects. What I can say is what I know now based on the information that we have. Our facilities and campus is beautiful and well-kept, thanks to the support of our community and also thanks to our folks, our maintenance and grounds that take care of it on a daily basis. So when I think of pressing matters and I think of safety of the kids, and we did have an accident, not correlated to this, but still safety of the kids, traffic congestion. I think of the bus accidents. I think of the times I've gone through there and I'm squeezing with my truck mirrors. And knowing that we've already allocated $300,000 for this project, not knowing where it would come in at, already in this current year's budget. And we're a month away or so from closing out this year's budget with no known major crises, if you will, on the docket. I would have this on the top list, and that's why we dove into it right away. It is certainly something that you could push down the road for bond work, as we prepare for next renewal bonds. No guarantee that it makes that scope of work. So I guess if 1 is, let's say, the least important, 5 is the most important, I think of student safety. And knowing we have the funds for this, I would put it, I'm going to go out on a limb, I'd put it on that 4 or 5 range simply because we won't have this conversation again about McFall Elementary traffic on the main road. So we're very fortunate as part of Kent ISD having the enhancement millage that we can even have conversations on this because that's our capital improvement fund. That's where those monies come from. A lot of districts don't have that. This would have to be bond work. So when he's talking student safety, I think it's pretty important. But again, that could change tomorrow if I get a phone call at 2 a.m. and a roof collapsed or something like that insurance doesn't cover. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, and I agree with Plan B that it's just shifting a headache from us to the community, and I don't really like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think when I think about this situation, we can quantify the accidents, but you can't quantify the close calls that happen probably on a daily basis. One of the questions I asked Mr. Pouch when reviewing this was, is there a safety difference in between the two? And clearly there is a little bit of a safety difference, but not anything too, I think, overly leaning one side or the other. The other thing I asked is the other options, and I think you alluded to this, Mr. Pouch, is doing something with the road as far as expanding it, Main Street and such. You get the village involved and there's just nowhere to go there with the residents that are there and such. So this is the best that And you guys covered all that, and I know in your discussions, so.
I think anybody questioning it just has to drive through there at that time.
Yeah.
And trying to get around the traffic, and my fear is in that crosswalk, if there's a kid that pops out, regardless of if we have a crosswalk guard, that scares me.
Yep.
But I think you're a good salesman, because option A looked a lot better than somebody letting loose on a highlighter. Because you're kind of leading into which option to pick based on looks already.
But the district has taken all these matters seriously. I mean, I remember a couple years ago, we moved the Lee crosswalk from right by where the drive is, down about 100 yards or so, to make sure that the kids are more visible when they're crossing. So thank you for the continued work, but does anyone else have any recommendations? I think these options are great for us to consider.
Did the transportation director see these options? Like, I'd be curious what his input was.
Yes, the question was, did the transportation director see these options? Yes, he was part of this conversation from the start.
What did he feel?
So his biggest concern is, one, I need a space that can accommodate my buses, kids can get there safely, and also the buses can turn around. There is a concern, as we were going through these meetings, that the amount of kids on the south side of the building is going to be a lot of kids. And I'd leave it up to the McFall staff. Give us some options. We haven't got to that point yet, but how would this look? Where do you stage the first graders at? Are they going to be coming through the bus area, which makes me nervous? Is there a place to stage them and come out a different door? I mean, that's building level stuff. They know their landscape the best. But that's concerning from a superintendent and transportation director, that you're adding more little people to where the buses are at. From a superintendent lens, when you have designated buses away from kids, it reduces your liability, meaning less risk for an unfortunate accident to happen. So he has seen this first option and is in favor of it. We can make it work. They've measured and gone out with buses and you name it. So yeah, he's been part of the process.
To follow up on that, the funneling all the kids to the buses currently through the current loop, you're funneling the kids to the center of the building almost. Now you're gonna be funneling them to the end of the building, the gymnasium, I think it is. Has the building level kind of looked at this and kind of already started brainstorming what they might do to get the kids in and out?
Just the administrative staff, because we don't want to create waves. Sometimes we go from 0 to 180, and all of us as humans, and we don't want to create waves if it's not an option that the board's considering. So we've sought input, one from Mr. Washburn, who was there for 20-plus years, and then also all the office staff at McFall. And then, yes, they're, again, I said plug your ears, because maybe I'll go on vacation that week. They're willing to try it for a week at the end of the year. I don't know if we're in that position, and a whole lot of kinks would need to be worked out. I don't know if we could hit the green light on that one, but at the office level, they were willing to start those conversations, and I'm not sure trying it at the start of the year is the best option either. So yes, they've been part of it, but not the whole staff. That would be next if the board directs us to explore that option further.
If option A is chosen, when's the soonest that could become operational?
So correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, you were in that meeting, but they looked at us as if they can't do it in the summer, but the sooner we were to approve, the better. But they made it sound like they could do it in the fall, but the question would be, how disruptive is it if you rip the Band-Aid off for 2 weeks and they can be done? This is not, once you get permitting and the earthwork done, this is not a huge project for the right folks. So I believe, if I remember right, that was my interpretation of that meeting.
I do recall they said this fall, and yeah, it would be a couple weeks of a downtime that we would have. But it seems like overkill for me. Is there a reason we have to keep car parking in the middle there? Is there an option to stack buses in there? I mean, that's a whole lot of extra excavation, asphalt, and everything else. To me, it seems like a waste of money. When you already have all the parking lot there, why can't you stack buses, stack them along? You'll have to do an excavation there to help
Help them spin them, yeah.
Stack the buses, utilize what we already have, and add on a little bit more for those extra buses that we don't have the space for, it would minimize the amount of excavation we'd have to do. It would minimize the cost of it quite a bit from 350,000, 400,000.
Who's currently using, I mean, it's been a long time since I've had kids at that
That's,
school.
I don't know who's parking there, if it's teachers or who's parking there, but there's plenty, I mean, is there a reason we have to maintain that as vehicle parking when we have the parking by the basketball courts and we have the parking out back?
So we will bring this up. We talked about this, and I don't, like, it's been months ago, I don't remember all the details. I know that option, as it sits, does not fit 17 to 19 buses. They went out there and measured, and they can't get that many, I don't want to say how many buses they could get in there, but they can't get that many buses in there. And then, okay, so we had conversations on if you put some in there, but then you start feeding some down to the road, the driveway, then the buses can't maneuver and make the turns. That's where I'd have to rely on our transportation director, not my specialty. So that was discussed. I certainly can go back and get more details of it, but I know it was the 19 buses wouldn't line up. And where do we go with the rest of them without being able to still make the turns? Making the turn is what's a big deal. But I'll ask. I certainly will seek better guidance on that, because I don't.
To elaborate on that idea, instead of, like Jim's saying, instead of doing this, can you extend it here and then extend this lateral parking here?
Yeah.
Like that would be another
Yeah, a
minimal,
smaller loop.
still,
That's my thought.
still
Yeah.
more construction to fit them in here. You would consolidate the buses laterally. I don't know, again, you have to think.
I think Mark, I think that's a great point. I think also right now, we have 19 buses, and we should always, in the district, plan for where's bus 20, 21, 22 gonna be, right? I know enrollment is challenging right now across all of Michigan, but that should always be a thought as well, so.
Something I'd throw out there too, just to keep the numbers and cents in mind. Sometimes what we think would be cheaper isn't. So for example, we got a quote to pave, and only going down 3 or 4 inches, I believe it was, mill it up, the parking lot to the east, which is totally deteriorated, crumbling, and that was nearing between $70,000 and $100,000 to do that. So sometimes what we think would be cheap, because we thought maybe that would have been a cheaper option, and how does that fit in? Like, oh geez, if we're $70,000 to $100,000 just to redo that lot, is that the most economic way? So we will this is great feedback. We will certainly run it by the team if the board would like us to, and we'll have the experts, the people who made the drawing and who can park the buses, let us know the good and the bad.
Personally, I'd like to hear all the options. Like if that is something that they can answer to, I'd love to at least hear and see if there's a chance to save some money and do it less amplified.
So, I'm sorry.
There's a line item on the expense for it, for $33,000 for a new pond. Are we putting a pond someplace if we're doing this? or-
It's Rob's personal fishing pond.
Largemouth bass in there. No, so some of this, we haven't, it's gonna depend on the township and the village, and they have to give us certain approvals on certain things. Somebody may say, or at the state level, we have to build a retaining pond. I don't know if we have any around our district. I can't think of any, but in a previous spot, I had one right outside my office that they made look nice, but it was a little bit of an eyesore too. So some of that stuff, my gut tells me this would be less, because they're basing it on kind of the worst case scenario without the village and or township and or state saying we need A, B, and C.
Sometimes, to elaborate on that, sometimes when you change things, it was built previously with different standards. Now the new standards, when you build something new, it's gonna require certain drainage, certain whatever, which require massive retention ponds basically for raining. Couple questions I had, I guess, back to the original option A. This big loop comes right around First Street. Is there gonna be some type of barrier deflection between traffic exiting and entrancing on First Street? Like, is there some type of deviation there?
Are you talking this road right here on
Yeah.
First Street? It would be
just adjacent to it, so they would still have, First Street will be its own dedicated road, this would be inside of the road.
There wouldn't be any
Separator or anything like
separator,
that?
curb,
Maybe
grass?
A little barrier, but not much.
Okay. Not that the kids are even gonna be near there, that's pretty much just a pathway out. I would just be concerned with the amount of traffic that still exits First Street there. And
To
then still
go
trying to, with
north
buses
or-
going along right there at the
No,
same
they're
time.
what they're doing is they're circling the buses back over to go
Yeah.
out by the tennis courts.
Down here and then
The buses
come
would
out,
come back around here and
and then
go
go
out.
out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
First Street's its own.
Yeah, Mark's concern is
I'm concerned just with people leaving First Street. and
To go to,
lining
like,
up,
Lee,
And then
yeah.
also the bus is kind of like right there.
Yeah.
yeah.
If nothing else, I think architectures like to draw things and make them look very nice, and they did a wonderful job here. I'm sure they would love to design some curbs, if nothing else, some type of barrier if we deem
I
that's
do think
necessary.
there was some flexibility, they needed a certain radius.
They need a certain
to
radius,
turn.
yeah, so that's why I was kind of like, how close are you to First Street? Like, it kind of hard to tell right there, like, is
At
it?
first, they thought they might have had to go right up to it, but I think there is a little bit of flexibility where they could push it in a little bit. But you also want some flexibility to the east of the, building for students to walk to, so.
Yep.
And then was there, has there been any like ADT studies for traffic on First Street, Third Street, Main Street, like average daily traffic counts or anything?
I've been told, and our architects were aware too, and our historian in the back has told us that there's been numerous traffic studies through the years, and I'm not sure the result of those.
I'm just curious. I don't know if there'd be grants through the village, I guess, to help renovate that road, because the road is crumbling, just like most roads in Michigan. But that specifically is probably overdue for an upgrade. It'd be nice if they could step up and.
Join together.
I think that's a joint
It would
thing
have to
with
be,
the
yeah.
schools and the village.
Yeah, I just don't know how far down the road are they to any of their renovations and their preventative maintenance that they need to do on their roads too.
Anything else from Mr. Pouch? All right, to summarize, I think the board likes option A, maybe a couple takeaways to go back and ask the fantastic people that helped put this together. And I think maybe at the next board meeting, we can talk a little bit more in depth. Does that work, Mr. Pouch?
Yes, sir. We will report back at the June board meeting.
All right, fantastic. Next item on the agenda, the board items for action. The middle school English language arts curriculum approval.
At the May meeting, Director of Teaching and Learning Megan Wonders presented the board with our 6th through 8th grade curriculum recommendation, and textbooks were presented to the board. They'd been in my office for the past week, and I don't believe we have received any questions. We're happy to answer any that the board might have. Otherwise, that is the administrator's recommendation. We had no further clarifications or questions.
Any questions at this time?
Just a general question. So when it gets to, I appreciate all the work that was, that was done beforehand, but then when it gets to I think it's called the School Improvement Committee, I call it the Curriculum Committee because that's who goes over it. It's narrowed down to one, or at least my experience. Maybe I'm wrong. I've only been here for a year. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I would kind of appreciate just seeing two, just to maybe after it's been narrowed down, just to be able to, compare and see why it's better, or, she did a great job explaining things, but just my experience from the School Improvement Committee, it would be nice to see a comparison, because not everybody gets to look at curriculum all the time, and so I don't know if that's normal. Or is that how it always is?
So that's a great question, and it's a procedural thing we can look at in the future. So it is normal for the process to entrust the teachers, the administrators, the experts of their curriculum, that this is the recommendation, this is the one based on our 6-month pilot. However, I think it would go a long way too of one, we certainly could hear feedback from the committee, the teachers in the trenches every day, of what was option 2 and what didn't you like about it. So moving forward, that is something easily that we can include into that process of, hey, here was the close runner-up, and even, get some of our amazing teachers to say some pros and cons and those type of things. So it's also, these are tough reviews because they're always mixed opinions within the committee. What I mean, a lot of times it's 60-40, sometimes even 50-50. There are times where decisions are unanimous, and that makes it easier. So there's a lot of vetting that goes through there. But yeah, I think it's normal to bring one to the board because we want to support our teachers and we want to value their time and efforts into this, because like ELA, those middle school ELA teachers know more about middle school ELA than Megan, Mark, John, and I put together because they teach it every day. But I think we could certainly do an effort in the future to show what we didn't like about option 2 with some feedback straight from our teachers that are in the classroom every day.
That'd be appreciated.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, looking for a motion regarding the middle school English language arts curriculum approval.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Education approve the middle school English language arts curriculum HMH intro literature for the 2026-2027 school year.
I'll support. Oh, 3 of us seconded. Second, third, fourth. Okay.
All right, got a motion by Winger and a support by Hilton. Any discussion? All right, and that looks, not a roll call vote, right, Brenda? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? All right, thank you, board. Next item on the agenda, the Early Childhood Center playground purchase.
All right, that is me. So good evening, board. Just want to bring this to your attention. As you know, at the start of this year, we had 8 classrooms come over from GSRP to Early Childhood Center. So with that 8 classrooms, we were awarded a $40,000 per classroom grant. I know we've bought some furniture with this funds in the past, but in total there we had $320,000. We had some leftover funds. I asked Amanda and the team, grounds operations, to look at what additional needs do we have. This is a one-time use it or lose it grant that has to be fully expended by June 30th if we want to capture these funds. So they took it and identified some additional playground equipment, and I do have some photos of that you have attached, but here's one of them. We also have 6 of these. So with the robust playground that we have out there, we are looking to expand. Now with the total cost that we have of $43,778.53, within this building we have 10 classrooms. 8 of them are identified as GSRP. 1 is early childhood special ed, or ECSE, and 1 is a 3-year-old tuition. So they identified 8 out of 10 that would have access to that. So we would have to only have 80% of this covered by GSRP. With the other 20%, we would have to expend out of our capital improvement, which would be $8,755.71. But in the large scheme of things, we thought this was money well spent to capture these funds while we still have those. So any questions?
Was it specific on what the funds had to be used for?
Startup funds, a lot of classroom furniture, but no, it was pretty wide open. Obviously not staff though, so it's hard to, when you're not dealing with staff, especially we have a brand new facility. We did order some furniture for the classrooms, smart boards, technology, we've had some of that, some professional development, but overall, when you're looking at little things here and there, like, when you got $320,000 to spend and it's a brand new building with,
We've already ticked a lot of the boxes. Is what you're
yeah,
saying.
so,
Okay.
so this is what they identified as the next biggest need, so.
Fantastic.
Looks awesome.
Any other questions? All right.
Sorry, 6 of those, like,
Table sets.
6 of the picnic tables?
Yes, and there might be some, here's another piece that they've identified. not that. But, yes, playground tables, I think there was 6 in total of those, movable, so they can maybe have class outside maybe, or,
Fantastic. All right, any questions? All right, looking for a motion regarding to the new playground purchase.
I'd like to motion that the Board of Education approve the purchase of the playground equipment for the Early Childhood Center from Snyder Recreation in the amount of $35,022.82 from the GSRP grant funds and $8,755.71 from the capital improvement funds.
Second.
All right, we got a motion by Mr. Flickma and support by Ms. Stanton. Any discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. And those opposed? All right, thank you, Board. The Kent ISD 2026-2027 budget.
Yeah, I'll take that one as well. So every May, this is a requirement for as long as I've been in schools, that we have to look to either approve or disapprove the Kent ISD budget by June 1st. So that's why we always come in the month of May. There's a lot of information in that packet. I think it was 42 pages, as I whittled through it. And, the things that I saw, did a nice job of the financial statement summaries, revenues, expenses broken down by major programs, services, talked about the different levies they have, ranging from general, special ed, CTE, enhancement millage, all their core projections that I thought, that I saw, everything is tied to, to their contract. This year, it looked like they had a 7.3% for their staff, so that's all tied in there. From the revenue side, they based it on the governor's proposal. I know I've shared a document about the differences, but at the end of it, for the foundation grant, we're looking at $10,300, which represents a 2.5% increase or $250 per pupil increase. So they had that in there. The hard cap, which is at 3% for the 2026. The only wild card, and they did note that, was House Bill 6058, which could be a one-time cost of 7%, or they estimate it at $800,000. So that is something, they don't have it in this budget, but they did note that. But overall, the ISD has been a great partner and has done great things for us and do a great job with the budget. So,
Any questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Looking for a motion related to the Kent ISD 2026-2027 budget.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Education adopt the resolution in support of the Kent Intermediate School District 2026-27 budget.
Support.
We got a motion by Mr. Winger and support by Mr. Price. Any discussion on the motion? All right, that's a roll call vote, please, Ms. Hess.
Hilton,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Stanton,
Yes.
Flickema,
Yes.
Winger,
Yes.
Brock,
Yes.
Hess, yes.
All right, we're on race car speed now. Second option for public input. Is there anyone that would like to speak? All right, fantastic. If you could just hit the button there to make sure that light turns green. Thank you, appreciate it.
Am I good?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Sometimes there's a timer.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, I got him.
got on the phone. We're okay.
Fine. I want to make sure that I'm fair. Hold on, let me get my, while you do that, I'm gonna get my phone out. Okay. I was not gonna make it today because I had a softball game, but here I am. I was listening to it on my phone, and here I am. So I just wanna, I did get the letter today about the specials at elementary. My daughter, I'm Laura Weeks, by the way. I have a daughter who's gonna be in 5th, and a daughter who's gonna be a freshman next year. I am a little biased because I love Ms. Flipiak, so, and I do really like music, and I like the musicals. If you guys have kids in elementary, you guys will probably see me because I volunteer for every single musical that Ms. Flipiak has had since she started here. But I do want to point out that on the letter that you sent, it did say that enrollment is down, but technically that is in the upper levels, not in elementary schools. And I've heard this multiple times because my 5th grader, or will be a 5th grader, there's 8 sections in that classroom. All the rest of the classes are 9 sections. So that means that there's more kids coming up. I've seen that with new teachers. Teachers get moved around between, like going from 2nd to 3rd. So I think that the enrollment for the elementary needs to be really looked at. But I understand budgets, I understand numbers. I'm a buyer as a profession, so I understood the numbers. I just hope that you guys do get experts. It sounds like you guys have experts about all the decisions that you guys are making, that you guys do look at experts to kind of figure out what makes sense. To me, it would make sense, if you guys are gonna do that, to have a K through 3rd, and then 4th, K through 2nd, and then 3, 4, 5. And that's only just because I really want Ms. Flipiak to be a 5th grade teacher next year, because I love her. But that just, to me, that makes sense, that you guys are not skipping grades. Since I do have time, I do have a couple more things. Traffic, I completely agree that McFalls traffic is horrible and something needs to be looked at. I think that maybe we should call Mr. Bruno, because the page traffic is amazing and people are trainable. So I think that something like that could definitely be implemented at McFall. But I do want to talk about the traffic at 7:15 in the morning is a problem. There was an accident a couple of weeks ago. Fortunately, nothing really bad happened, but I do think that along with the city, something needs to happen there, whether it's like a 4-way stop, from 8 to 8:30. And then my last thing is that I'm hoping that with the science curriculum, so I was listening earlier, that you guys talk about space. Because I feel like my daughter will go to space. She's an astronaut, and I feel like the middle school did not mention Artemis at all.
Okay. Thank you for your comments.
Sorry.
Anyone else like to speak? Anyone else? All right. Next item on the agenda, board comments. Is there any comments anyone would like to make?
I apologize if my comment about your highlighting was not proper.
He turned around and shed a tear. I saw him. Thank you, Tyler. All right, no board comments. I think on behalf of the board, congratulations to the seniors. Good luck in your next endeavor. I hope you are able to come back someday with your family and you cherish your time here as much as me as an alumni, but also some of the other board members up here have selected this community to grow their family. I hope if you don't appreciate it now, I think one day you will, for the time that you had here. And I hope you had a positive experience with not just the school, but the community. But best of luck in whatever you choose to do. Seniors, you got a huge team rooting for you back here in Middleville. If you ever need anything, come back, connect with teachers. This community around us is full of people that would love to assist you and help you. So please leverage that.
We get to all see him on the 21st.
Yeah, we get to see them on the 21st. It'll be great. Hopefully, it will be good weather and we'll be outside. Tyler, hopefully we'll still get a sunburn.
Sunshade, please.
Maybe put sunscreen
Get
on
a
this
sunshade.
time, Tyler. All right. We'll close board comments and adjourn at 9:03. Thank you, board.